So now that we have Flutter and all the platform tooling set up, it's time to finally create a Flutter project and run a first Flutter app on a device. For that, you should create a new folder anywhere on your system. The exact path is up to you. For example, on the desktop, on both Windows and macOS, this is a fine folder. And there, create a new folder, for example, called Flutter Projects, written like this. Important, make sure that if you do choose a folder name that consists of multiple words, as I did here, that you use an underscore for separating these words, not a white space, not a dash, but an underscore. And once you created such a folder, you can use that folder to then create your Flutter projects inside of that folder. For that, you can simply open that folder in your terminal, in your command prompt on Windows, or in this case, PowerShell, which it opened for me here. On macOS, you simply open it in your default terminal, and then in your terminal or command prompt, navigate it into this Flutter projects folder. Both on macOS and Windows, you can create a new Flutter project by running flutter create and then choosing any name of your choice. For example, first_app. Again, if you do choose a name that consists of multiple words, don't use white spaces or dashes, instead use an underscore to separate words. And this command will now create a new project folder inside of that folder that you created, where a new Flutter app, a new Flutter project will be created in. So you got a new project folder with a new Flutter project inside of it. And the command is exactly the same no matter if you are on macOS or Windows. This will now create a new Flutter project folder, and it also shows you what you can do thereafter to run this Flutter app, but will not do this just yet. Instead, I first want to open this newly created project in a code editor, because of course building Flutter apps is all about writing code, and for that you do need such an editor. Now, whilst you could use Android Studio for writing your Flutter code, I personally recommend Visual Studio Code, which is an amazing and totally free, highly performant code editor, and which can be installed for all main operating systems. macOS, Windows, Linux. You can use it on all these operating systems. And if you visit code.visualstudio.com, it should automatically select the right version for your system here. Otherwise, you can click that arrow to pick the exact version you do want to install. This is the editor I will use throughout the course, and therefore, if you want to follow along as smoothly as possible, I recommend that you also install this editor. Now, installing it is straightforward. You simply download that installer here and walk through it. And once you installed VS Code, you can open it, and you should see a screen that looks something like this. Now, you can go through these walkthrough steps here to learn more about VS Code. Attached, you also find a short free video that gets you started with VS Code and its most important features. And you can customize its appearance just as needed, for example, by setting the color theme. Here I'm using Dark Plus, but you can of course use any theme you want. You can also go to View and hide and show various sidebars here. And once you're done, in the main sidebar, you should click Open Folder, and there select that first app folder, which you created a couple of seconds ago, and open it with VS Code. And this now opens this project in Visual Studio Code so that you can conveniently work with all the files and folders and all the code in this project. Now, as you see, this project actually comes with a lot of files and folders out of the box, but I will of course walk you through all the important folders and files in this course. Now, before we dive into any code or folders though, there's one extra configuration we should add to VS Code, one extra thing we should add to VS Code, and that would be a specific extension. Because besides many other amazing features, one very cool feature of VS Code is that you can add extensions to it. And there's one specific extension you should add by going to the extensions view, and that would be the Flutter extension, which is an official extension provided by the Flutter team, which helps with Flutter development and which is a must-have when using VS Code for Flutter development. Now, you should install that. It's totally free to use. And once you installed that, you're ready to use VS Code for Flutter development.